Hey, welcome to Point Black. I'm Adolphus Pruitt, and boy, do we have a show for you today. Municipal workforce agencies are widespread across this country. They do everything from training to help people with economic empowerment and to grow economically in the marketplace. Economic mobility truly is really important for us. You know, there are these sort of agencies all across the country. And we happen to have one in St. Louis called SLATE, the St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment. And it has been around for a little while now. I put it this way, we'll get into it, but I think it's a minimum of 50 years. But today we have the director for SLATE in the house. Attorney Connie Johnson has been newly placed in the position here in the city of St. Louis, and we're going to talk about SLATE and talk with Connie and educate the folks on more than anything, the opportunities. What's going on?
Man, I just want to talk about my first job.
Oh, my goodness.
My first job was at SLATE.
BJ's first job was at SLATE. Ladies and gentlemen,
ladies
and gentlemen, wait a minute, drum roll. BJ, where was your first job?
Man, they had us cleaning up, the streets and stuff like that. We was doing a little cleanup around town, stuff like that. But man, I tell you, it upped my game. Because, I didn't grow up on the, kind of rich side of the tracks. Growing up.
You could have fooled me.
No, well, you'd think I would because I got a little boozy.
Yeah.
But I grew up on the hood side of the track. Hood side. So I'm good now.
Okay.
Anyway, it was my very first job. I was able to go from plain rice to plain fried rice. And then
you got a raise, huh?
Yeah, I did. And then I was able to get me some pork.
In the rice. Oh, my God.
You know what I'm saying? Then I moved up to St. Paul's.
Hey.
I'm just saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, BJ is giving you the menu selection at Ben Lounge. on Natural Bread, Grand, and Hebert, ain't it?
But I wouldn't be the guy to have the work ethic that I have right now if it wasn't for SLATE.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Got it.
To be able to, understand what it means to go to work, do your job, do a good job, and get paid for it. Mm-hmm. So I thank SLATE for that.
Well, I think, Connie, I can't think of a better introduction than to say thank you for giving BJ a job when he was young and out of work. You didn't furlough him, so thank you.
Right. Well, I wish I can take credit for that. But this agency is 50 years old and counting. And we are one of 13 workforce centers in the state of Missouri.
Got it.
And what a lot of people don't know is that our funding comes from the Department of Labor through the State of Missouri Office of Workforce Development. And our primary goal, is to educate and train people to prepare to enter and to continue in the workforce. And we also provide supportive services. And one of our biggest programs is the youth program, the Summer Youth Employment Program that BJ was part of, that I was part of back in the day. Actually, I think it was more for me. I think it was Operation Brightside. But if you work for Operation Brightside, 9 times out of 10, you also work with somebody who was assigned to the same closeout project, whether it was Barrett Brothers Park, whether it was cleaning up somebody's basement or painting somebody's front porch. We worked alongside other youth who were appointed by SLATE. So a lot of people in St. Louis, there's a lot of BJs out here, there's a lot of CJs out here whose first opportunity came by way of the programs that are run through this work center.
Well, we know we're going to jump into some of those programs, but you mentioned youth, and so I had to ask this question, and we'll get back around to some of the other stuff, but this past summer, I'm quite sure there was a lot of young people looking for jobs and opportunity to do what BJ had the opportunity to do at his young age. Or you all still do that, right?
We still do the summer youth employment program, and this summer we had over 600 kids or 600 youth apply, and we had to shut down the portal.
Oh, wow.
Because we had more demand and more need than we had money to employ. We were only able to employ about 120 young men and women who worked 10 weeks this summer at $15 an hour for 40 hours a week. We need more resources to go into that program. And we think that the need was, I guess, tripled in part because of the tornado. You had a lot of kids out here looking for jobs. You had a lot of displaced families. So for many of them, they were just trying to survive at this point. They were not living in their house. They may have been living with somebody else. They needed money, and so unfortunately, we were only able to employ those 125.
And so there's that 125, 600 applied. So there was another 400, 500 people out there who were young folk who were willing to work, looking to work, and wanted to make some money and stay out of trouble. And we couldn't help them. So what needs to happen to make sure that this summer that's coming, we were 6-7 months away. What do we need to be doing to make sure that whether it's 600 or 6,000, how do we get them employed? Because I'd rather see them working for SLATE and doing some stuff that provides them the opportunity to do what BJ did with that learning experience than to be out on the street. So how do we help St. Louis? I'm asking her how to help because I know you're going to make sure that she gets this help, and I am too. So how do we help? What does it take to make that happen?
I think right now, with budgets being the way they are, we need some dedicated discretionary funds, either from the city and or the state. So when I say some of these discretionary funds that are not tied to a program right now, funds like maybe the RAM settlement,
Gotcha.
to have some money dedicated from that for youth employment. There's also some potential maybe for ARPA. That's running out of time, but with the short time window of summer jobs, we could very well meet the deadline of having funds expended before December. So I know that the city is mindful of that, and they're looking at ways to see if there's any way to help. But in addition to that, I think, one of the best ways to keep kids off the streets is to get them in a job.
And put some money in their pocket.
And put some money in their pocket the legal way.
Yes.
So that they have that. And not only about putting money in their pocket, but opening up the doors to maybe like a career opportunity. Their work experience may be the very seed that's planted that leads to the next BJ. Work experience may lead them to being the next CEO of somebody's company.
Gotcha.
So I think, unlike when BJ and I were back working, we didn't have those types of opportunities. Now we have a diverse platform of opportunities. And one of the things I'm really proud of is that we do have placement sites with a lot of small minority-owned businesses. Businesses that have less than 50 employees who are trying to give these young men and women work experience.
So you had 125. What was the budget to employ that 125 for that? You said 10 weeks? What, $15 an hour, 8 hours a day, 10 weeks. What was the total budget amount you needed for that 125?
So give or take, $250K could potentially employ about 110.
Okay,
young men.
$250K.
Yes.
$250K per 110. So
right.
Let's say per 100. Let's give them a raise.
Right. Because
$250K per 100.
Yeah.
So you need a little bit more than $1.5 million.
That correct. And then, you have administrative costs because you have to run it. But that's how it works. So for every $250K, we could look at employing 110 kids.
And is it mandatory that in order to fund that for that dollar amount, does it have to come from local government and state government? Can it also come from private sources? How does that work, or can it work that way?
I believe that it could work from private. Here, the one thing is that the agency for over the years, the money has not been in any big jeopardy. We get the state appropriation, the state gets the money from the federal government, so there's been security. But now we're kind of in some changing times and some uncharted waters where we are starting to look for private money.
Got it.
And so we are applying for grants a little bit more than maybe we were a few years ago.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pivot just 1 minute because I want to make sure that when we come back, that we make sure that everybody understands who SLATE is, what SLATE does, and how do you engage with SLATE. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with more on Point Blank. We got the director of SLATE, Connie, attorney Connie Johnson, in the house, and we'll be right back. And we are back. We're back with attorney Connie Johnson, the director of SLATE. Ladies and gentlemen, we ain't having a ball in the studio. Y'all just don't know when we go on break up in here.
No, you know what? It is a ball in the studio.
When we go on break up here, ladies and gentlemen, you just have no idea of what goes on in the studio. You have no idea. You have no idea. We having a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. You all, just when you hear us laugh, just laugh. I guarantee you, if you were here, you would be. I guarantee you would be. But director, let's SLATE. Let's dig deep into SLATE. Tell us, what does SLATE do, and who all can access SLATE, and how do they do that?
Okay, so let me kind of back up because I think I misspoke earlier. So SLATE is one of 30 full-service job centers throughout the state of Missouri. Okay. There are 13 regions, okay, and St. Louis City is one of those 13 regions, okay?
Got it.
So we work directly with the Office of Workforce Development, okay? There's a program that many may have heard of. It's called WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. The funding for everything that we run, with the exception of some other grants, primarily comes from WIOA, the Department of Labor. So those programs are dedicated to adults, dislocated workers, and youth. These programs also provide adult literacy programs. Okay, and then there's also a rehabilitation component. Okay,
hold on. When you say rehabilitation,
like voc rehab.
Okay, vocal rehab. Okay, gotcha.
Right, and then for you to be eligible for one of the programs in WIOA, there are poverty guidelines. Okay. So for the most part, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like if it's less than $65,000, a year, I think it's a family of 4 maybe.
Got it.
I'm just talking roughly, but there are income guidelines to whether or not someone can qualify. Okay. And so that's the bulk of the programs. We also have other programs that come by way of the Department of Social Services. You've probably heard of Skill Up, Job Lead. Those are work-related programs, workforce programs where basically the participants have to be on SNAP, okay? Or, have to be receiving TANF, and then it's a workforce program for those individuals as well.
And now, is that program for them, is it still from adult to youth, or is it
correct?
So it covers the whole gamut. So it can be the child, the mother, the father,
correct,
or somebody with some sort of vocational disability.
Right. But there are two, but those are two different, so we don't want to mix them. But the primary programs we run are funded through WIOA, and then the other programs are also funded by way of Department of Social Services.
Got it. And so, give me some idea what those programs consist of. Okay, here it is. I'm on SNAP.
Okay.
I walk in. I'm unemployed. Maybe a high school graduate. don't have any significant skill base. I've always worked low wage jobs that require me to do some stuff with my hands or minimal skills. And I want to improve myself, improve my ability to get a job and make some money. I come to SLATE. What happens?
So the Job League program, if you are between the ages of 14 to 24,
Okay.
what we're going to do is assess where you are at life right now.
Got it.
Okay. Do you have any previous work experience? If so, what is that work experience? Do you have an interest in a particular line of work? Okay. And so what we try to do is to match the interests of the applicant with the job market.
Okay.
So, you might be looking at someone who comes in and says, you know what, I want to be a plumber, and then through some of our different partnerships, i.e. maybe like Rankin Tech, that person might be eligible for education assistance to go and complete some type of certification, maybe at a Rankin or through one of our certified partners. So we give them not only maybe the training, but they also get paid at the same time.
Oh, wow. And that's 14 to 24.
That's Job League.
That's Job League. Okay, I'm 30.
Well, then now you just a regular adult worker.
Okay.
Okay, but we still will do that same type of assessment.
Gotcha.
We're still going to look to see what have you done in the past, what are you currently doing, what do you want to do, And so we do have a number of individuals right now who have expressed interest in like CDL, and so we can help you get that certification and then also help you with job placement. So we try not only to get somebody in a job, we try to give them a skill set to enter into a long life career path.
Got it.
Or it might just be the beginning of a career path.
Now, I was down there visiting one day, and you had these young folks, and they was in this room, and they were all happy and giddy, and there was this young man that was speaking about AI and stuff, and so what was that?
So you saw what we had professional development for our team, So in order for us to serve people, we got to stay current. We got to know what's going on, not only in the immediate programs that we run, but we need to know what's going on in the community. We need to know what's going on in the industry. So because the president has talked a lot about AI being one of those targeted job markets, we wanted to give our professional staff some education. So we invited Mr. Omar Perkins. He came, he gave a presentation on AI. It was garnered around helping people do their jobs using AI, but also educating them about the future of AI. And so it was professional development, and it was well received. So we do that on a regular, every month. We offer some type of professional development in-house for all of our team members.
Now that's the AI you mentioned. So how does SLATE or does SLATE and these other workforce agencies, how do they get geared up? Because AI is the future, and it's going to dictate, your ability to be in the workforce in the future. So are you all getting geared up for that?
We're getting geared up. We're trying to follow the blueprint. So the current federal administration issued a report called the Golden Age of Workforce. And in this report, they target AI as a career path where we should be offering apprenticeships as well. So what we're trying to do is get educated in the space of AI and then get prepared so we could offer apprenticeship programs or partner with individuals who could offer some type of apprenticeship program so people can learn about the profession and get into AI, because it's not going anywhere. So right now you have to train the trainer, if you will.
I got you. And so now we all heard of Project 2025. We know that came out the administration, but now this blueprint for, what was it called?
It's the Golden Age of Workforce.
The Golden Age of Workforce.
And he's identified certain professions like it's AI, cyber, mining. They're just certain professions that have been targeted by the current federal administration as areas of employment that people need to be looking into. And these areas also have a direct impact on economic development.
And are they so they cutting funding everywhere else, or are they funding this golden age blueprint?
They are.
Oh, they putting money in it.
They are.
Hey,
They
BJ,
are.
we found something that the Trump administration ain't cutting money out of.
He's directing money. Yes, there are certain fields that they are funding, and so you can go online and pull up and see where there have been millions of dollars already for certain programs that are coming directly from this workforce report.
So how do we, and listen, we're gonna have to do another show on this golden age blueprint. I want you to come back and we're gonna talk about this blueprint, because I want to look at the blueprint and I want to educate the folks on what those segments are, and the type of money that's being put into them, because we need to be able to. And that's when I said drive, push, drag, and if they kicking, and get them in these programs, because if that's where they funding the training and opportunities.
That's right.
We need to know, and well, I'm not a fan of the administration, but I ain't no fool either. If he's putting money into something that can help black people, we need to be putting black people in it.
Right.
That's just the bottom line. And so you all are getting geared up for that. Is there how's the relationship with other what I call workforce related entities out here? For instance, you got the unions that got apprenticeship programs, you got the MOCANs, you got I don't know, maybe We Power's doing some stuff. I mean, do you all engage with these other outside entities, and what does that look like?
Well, honestly, in the past, we have had like more activity and more of a relationship with some of the organizations that you're mentioning. But now we're trying to renew, reestablish, and to kind of reignite those relationships.
Gotcha.
Because what's clear, the report is called America's Talent Strategy: Building the Workforce for the Golden Age. That's the name of the report. And the president, if you might recall, had a little TV show called The Apprentice.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And so that whole program was kind of about, training and mentoring. And when he saw people who might have the potential for certain. And this report definitely speaks to apprenticeships. So now is going to be the time, from an apprenticeship standpoint, is to maybe pivot a little bit. It might not be the traditional, just the regular bricks and mortar apprenticeships. Apprenticeships may need to be in mining. It may need to be in cyber professions, other technology professions. But nonetheless, what we're getting out of this report are apprenticeships for sure.
I was reading something and they said that don't be down about AI, because of AI is generating a number of jobs, regular skilled labor jobs, and they was talking about, based on these data centers and all these other things, that they were short a few 100,000 electricians who had to be able to work on this stuff and keep AI alive, and so is that what we're talking about in this report?
In this report, there are 5 pillars.
Okay.
And pillar number 5 is specifically called Flexibility and Innovation. And it's titled Creating New Models of Workforce Innovation Built to Match the Speed and Scale of AI-Driven Economic Transformation.
Got it.
If you have not read that, okay,
right,
you need to read it.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so that's part of why we had people like Mr. Perkins come, because of this pillar. This is they lay it out. It's one thing, he's not the current administration, they're not hiding the punches in terms of what they believe is important for workforce.
Right.
They're just identifying certain trades, certain career paths, and clearly AI is one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when the Biden administration, Biden got in there and decided that we were going to really put some emphasis behind solar.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody was buying solar from solar panels from China and from other places, And when it took off over here, people started building solar plants and things like that so they can manufacture that. But then Trump came in and he's killed all of that. So yeah, people geared up, building plants, manufacturing facilities for solar related entities and other energy related stuff. And then Trump has come in, he's killing the tax credits for it. And so now we have the AI stuff, and which I believe is critical for what's going to happen in the country over the long run. So I just hope that as we push into this and that the next administration come in, and definitely we need a next administration, that they don't come in and do the same thing and kill us where we get all our folks geared up for these AI-related industries, and all of a sudden they put a rug out like last time. So SLATE is 50 years old.
50 years old and counting.
50 years old and counting. And SLATE is, I'm going to make sure I'm clear, it's funded by the state, by the federal government. They send the money to the state. Then the state gives it to SLATE. Does the city of St. Louis, because it's called the St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment, does the city of St. Louis fund any of SLATE? Do they put money in SLATE?
The city does fund operational costs.
Operational costs.
So it allows us to, it takes care of our employees and other operations. But in terms of program dollars, the city doesn't fund programs. We purely, exclusively run the programs that are funded by way of the state of Missouri through Department of Labor or through Department of Social Services. Those programs are also in part funded from the federal government.
And because they're federal funds, then the federal regulations follow them. So it dictates who your client base can be through those programs because you're paying for it with federal dollars.
Correct.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, just as a side note, if federal government has separate regulations from states and from local entities, and here's a unique thing, BJ. If it's $1 federal dollar in there, now so you can have the city can put $100 million into a program, and if they put $1 federal dollar in there, so it's $100,000,001, then the federal regulations kick in for the whole $100 million. Am I right, Connie?
Correct.
Really?
Yeah, one federal dollar.
Okay.
I mean, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm very serious. I just want to. It could be $1 billion of non-federal dollars for a program to do anything. And if you accept $1 federal dollar as a part of that, whereas $1,000,000,001, all that money now is treated as if it's federal dollars from a regulatory standpoint.
It's under the microscope.
And so, Courtney, why are you doing this? It's the reason why that's interesting, because somebody privately can say, I want to give SLATE $100 million and I want to fund the summer youth program. But I don't want the kids who are socially economically, who fall into a socioeconomic category, them the only ones can participate because of the federal dollars. So BJ, if you got a family of three, my husband and wife, and you got a son, and jointly you all are making more as a family too, you all making more than $50,000 a year jointly, or wherever that number may be, because of the federal dollars, your son can't participate. Okay. He's locked out. He's locked out because he's not considered to be in that economic category. So that's why we bring that up, because it is a very important distinction, because a lot of folks don't understand that, even when we go to the city and other places and get public dollars but if it's $1 federal dollars in there, it's no longer local money. That's federal money as far as they're concerned, from a regulatory standpoint.
But here's the thing, though. While most of our programs are focused based on how it's funded, we serve everybody.
Okay.
So you might walk through the door and you might be a dislocated worker. You are somebody who got laid off at Centene, Wells Fargo, Edward Jones. You come to our job center and look for positions. We have the state database, we have the computer room, we have the resource lab, We can help you with your resume. And so what we have, a lot of people know us for our summer jobs, and they know us for WIOA programs, but there are people who may not qualify because they don't meet the certain guidelines.
Right.
But at SLATE, we serve everybody.
You serve everybody.
We serve everybody.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's one other unique thing about that. Not only do you serve everybody, but they don't even have to be from the city. They don't have to be from the state. Am I right? They can.
If somebody comes in and they're from the county and they fall within the guidelines of WIOA for one of those
No,
programs.
I'm just talking about those who.
Oh, correct.
Right.
Yeah, we don't serve any. We will serve everybody who walks through those
Everybody
doors.
walk in the door. Where they from?
They got
Homeless.
they got an ID.
They got an ID.
They want to use
Alaska,
computer lab.
I got Alaska driver's license. I can get in.
Correct.
What about if I got a Russian passport? No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joking. I'm joking. Well, they might get served. That's ID.
Right. Got ID.
It's ID.
Right.
So why do you think a lot of people don't know about SLATE? I mean, or do that? I'm operating under the assumption a lot of folks may not know about SLATE and what it has to offer. You think that the city's not promoting it enough or talking about it? I'm not trying to get you in trouble with. I know you're appointed. It's an appointed position, and
Right.
And you serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to put you in any position. I'm just trying to understand, how do we educate? This is one way, but how do we educate more people on what's going on in SLATE, and that there's some opportunities out there?
Well, what we try to do is outreach. Okay. But it's like it's basically like this. 50 years ago, all right, funding was guaranteed. People were not up at night worrying about whether or not the Senate was going to pass a bill for federal funding. Okay. Funding was almost guaranteed and automatic. Now, there's been some challenges over the years from time to time, but none like now, okay? And so because of some of the challenges associated with federal funding, we are basically trying to re-educate people about the work that we do, so that when we go for different grants and programs, people know who we are and what we do. So it's a rebranding. It is an education and outreach initiative, but it's also, we're trying to teach people what we do, and we're actively looking for partnerships as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about SLATE. We got the director here in the house, Attorney Connie Johnson. We'll be right back with more on Point Black. And we're back. We're in the house. We're talking about SLATE, the St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment.
Correct.
Connie, the one question I do have is that, do you all of your employees, are they civil service? So
So we have 3 groups of employees at SLATE. We have employees from the state of Missouri, because it is the state's job center. Okay. So we have representatives. We actually have a supervisor who manages state employees. Okay. We have the civil service employees. Okay, that are 100% city funded.
Okay.
And then we have one of our sub-recipients on site, EDSI. Okay, and they carry out our programs.
What's EDSI?
It's our sub-recipient.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but
what do they do?
So, years ago, basically they operate our programs for us.
Okay,
yes.
They manage the program.
They manage our programs. They operate them for us, but they're on site with us. So years ago, you may have recalled at one point Goodwill, MERS.
Yes, MERS,
okay.
Goodwill.
So when that relationship ended, EDSI became the next subrecipient.
And the state employees at SLATE are paid by the state?
Correct.
They're paid by the state. And then the city employees are paid by the city. And then EDS is under contract, and that funding is paid for with the federal money?
With the state money, correct.
With the state money. Okay.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because, the states basically, they're pass-through agents.
But how do you manage 3? Wait a minute. You got three distinct set of employees
Mm-hmm.
that are funded differently,
Mm-hmm.
and then you manage them all. Huh?
So we're about 70 of us total. We also have some employees that are off-site at Rankin through the
Okay.
Youth Build program, but because it's about to be winter, they come back. But to paraphrase the late Frankie Beverly and Mays, we are one. We are one SLATE, okay?
Gotcha.
We are one. So, yes, we different folks, different paychecks, but we are one in terms of the agency and carrying out the mission to make sure that everybody who comes through our doors gets the education that they need, gets the training that they need, and hopefully gets the employment that they need to enter into or continue into a meaningful career path.
And where is SLATE? We've been, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about SLATE, and we ain't even told you where to find them.
Is at 1520 Market.
1520 Market.
So we are in the building. I think the health department is in there. There are other city agencies as well. But everybody knows that's where the court, your traffic tickets, that's where
Municipal
you go.
courts.
Municipal
Okay.
courts, right.
Okay.
Right. So,
1520. And so.
third floor, suite 3050.
And what I take it, your biggest ask, if anything, is money?
It's always money, It's all about money. Ain't nothing funny,
Okay.
I mean, it's just that we really the needs in this space have really, really increased. I don't know if it's compounded because of the tornado. I don't know if it's just compounded because of the economy. But we know, like with our kids, our youth that are coming in, a lot of them don't feel like they can leave high school and go to college right now.
Got it.
They are looking for other options. So they're coming to us so we could try to get them in an apprenticeship program or into some type of meaningful career path while they, for whatever reason, prepare for going to college later or maybe not at all, And we got a lot of dislocated workers right now. We got a lot of people who have lost jobs, businesses that have closed. And so you have people who are re-entering the workforce for the first time in 10, 20 years. They haven't had to do a resume in I don't know how long. And now they've been laid off. So they got to get into another job or try to get into the job field that they have been in for years. And that's a transition.
Well, now I got a touchy subject I want to bring up. Not touchy, ladies and gentlemen. It's just one I don't know the answer to, so I'm dying to hear the answer. Years ago, man, it's probably been a decade. BJ, a decade ago, we did a white paper on the First Source program, which is administered by SLATE. Am I right or wrong?
It is a program in which SLATE works with companies, who may have received some type of city incentive for development, and we work with those companies to help identify employees.
Right. And if I recall right, that it's a city ordinance, a city law that says if you get any incentives from the city whatsoever, and you're going to create new jobs, those entry-level jobs, they call it First Source, because those entry-level jobs that residents for the city of St. Louis have the first opportunity to apply for those jobs. They're not guaranteed to get it, but they get the first opportunity to apply for them and be considered for those jobs. And that's why they call it First Source.
Correct.
And I remember early on when we first got Ballpark Village done, and most of those jobs, the First Source was leading the charge, and matter of fact, SLATE even had somebody assigned to Ballpark Village.
It sure did.
To make sure that the city residents had a first opportunity for and these are entry-level jobs. I had the first opportunity for those jobs. Is that something that's still happening? Is that because we've been doing a lot of incentives now. We've been putting it out. I'm just wondering if it's still happening.
First Source is still on the books.
Okay,
it is still on the books. I think what has probably happened is that some of those projects have kind of slowed down. And so when I say that it's time for us to kind of reconnect, renew, and restore those relationships, now is the time to kind of go back and pick up the phone and talk to the folks at the foundry you know, and see. I mean, obviously the foundry is complete,
Right.
but did that or does that ordinance apply to businesses within the foundry?
Right.
Okay, because that's where jobs are. But the way the ordinance is written, it seems to apply more so for the actual like project itself. Okay,
Right.
so if you're building a mall, after the mall is built, then what?
Well, you know, the reason, and I bring it up because I think the reason when we did this study, and BJ, this is going to shock you. When we did it, they had just finished Union 70. You know where the old Chevy plant is, GM plant there on Union and Natural Bridge. You remember that, don't you?
I remember that, man. I remember that Chevy plant.
And up in there now, there are over 1,000 jobs just right there in different businesses, warehouses, and manufacturing, all up in there. And when we did the study, out of all those jobs, they did not use First Source.
Oh.
Yeah, so here, and that's one of the things that got to us, because we were like, in the middle of North St. Louis, they repurposed a plant that used to have 1,000 jobs or more, building cars.
Yep.
They repurposed it in the middle of North St. Louis, created 1,000 or more new jobs in the middle of North St. Louis. And when you drive past there, walk past there, or whatever, all we saw was white people coming in and out of there with those jobs. And they driving in and out. So they weren't on the bus. You would see them on the bus stop, getting off the bus to go in there. They up in there. And all those jobs are created using incentives. But there wasn't no black people up in there, and there wasn't people from the neighborhood. Imagine the folks who live around Natural Bridge and Union, all up down in that area, the Primrose neighborhood and the West End, and all. Imagine they would have been able to walk to work. And these are high-paying jobs. And when we say entry level, some of that is warehousing, some of that is manufacturing. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, those are entry-level jobs. But they pay extremely well with benefits and with everything. So that's so we're going to come back and talk about First Source. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we are running a little bit out of time, but Connie, is there anything that we missed that you want to share with the audience?
One thing I do want to share is that we do help justice involved folks.
Gotcha.
If you have a record, you know, we work with second chance employers.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so that is something. We have a dedicated employment training specialist who will assist you, particularly if you know, we have young men who are coming back home, leaving Potosi, Farmington, Pacific, and then they are having to start over. And so what we try to do is work with the state by way of those referrals to help those young men and women get back on their feet. And we also help anybody who comes off the street who has a record.
And women, you saying you have companies that are willing to hire?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
we
wow.
have companies we have relationships with companies that will hire them. And I will say that is kind of like the best kept secret, you know, because this is a workforce that goes unrecognized.
Got you.
Men and women who, you know, they paid their debt to society.
I got you.
And now they want to give back. And we should be able to prepare them to help them transition well. Otherwise, they're going to end up right back on the inside.
So they need to come to SLATE.
So they need to come to SLATE so we can help get that, you know, make sure, help do our part to end some of this recidivism.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the last word from the director of SLATE, St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment, Attorney Connie Johnson, the company that gave BJ his start about 150 years ago.
That's correct. That is correct.
Gave him his start, and look where he's at now. BJ is a SLATE baby. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week with more on Point Black.